What's up, guys? It is Jack.
Hey, we're recording the podcast. Shut up.
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning Somewhere!
Nailed it for December 13th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. What's up, guys? It is Jack.
What is
Pattillo.
up, Internet? How are you doing today, Bernie? It's good seeing you, man.
What's up, Internet? That goes way back, man. What's up, Internet?
I believe the line is, what's up, guys? It's Jack and Jeff from AchievementHunter.com. And then it goes from there.
I had to cut it. In fact, it was weird because just from my memory, that was a greeting that you gave at the beginning of every Fails of the Week video.
Oh, pretty much every Achievement Hunter video, honestly.
It's not an AWU, though. I looked at like 5 or 6 AWUs and couldn't find it. So I thought, I'm going to try Fails of the Week. And there it was.
Yeah. Fails of the Week was definitely the one. It's when people say like, oh, I loved all your stuff back in the day. Like AWU and Fails of the Week is always one of those that shows up. Like that one, that hit a lot of people like. It was such an easy thing to do because everyone's used to like, 360 no scopes, all these badass things. And it's like, we're just going to show bad stuff. And people just bought into it and they loved it. And so, people still today are like, that was one of my favorite things. Or that's how I got into Rooster Teeth.
I used to try to explain what you guys would do for a living all the time. I'd say they play video games and millions of people show up to watch it. And whoever I was talking to would say, so they're really good at video games? I go, no.
Yeah.
They're terrible at video games.
I would tell people, I'm a professional gamer, but I am the most mediocre player ever. I'm professional only in the fact that I had I got a salary for playing games.
You were the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Except even the Harlem Globetrotters were good at basketball.
Yeah, we were the Washington Generals of video games, I suppose.
Was there a series that you liked the best? So just for anyone who's not familiar, Mr. Jack Pattillo here.
Hello.
In addition to being a longtime friend, I've known you a really long time.
Yeah.
You were employee number 6 at Rooster Teeth?
9, depending on how you count 9.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's like the math gets a little bit weird, but it was there was one year, I think it was 2014 or 2013, when it was Brandon, Monty, me all came in the same year.
Yes.
And so Brandon, I think it was March, Monty was October, and I was December. And so, because I started part-time,
5-star recruiting class right then, man.
And so, I started December 1st, and that was I remember that because you guys were jerks about it. Because I came, so I was hired on part-time to actually work in the studio. Actually, I was helping make commercials, like GameStop trailers and stuff. And I was also doing Achievement Hunter with Jeff at the time. And I had a 2-month contract, and I was like getting to the end of it. It was like November, and I'm like, hey guys, like, am I going to be around much longer? Like, I need to figure out what's going on because I had just come back from Los Angeles, and I was like, I don't know if I have a job. And literally on December 1st, you brought me into like the office or brought me into the conference room. We're like, all right, we want you to work here full time. And I was like, oh my God. Yes. But you waited till the last day. You could have told me like a week before.
Your first thing you had done, though, before even that, you did your own series called Forced Enjoyment, which was prior to Achievement Hunter, right?
Yeah. So my origin story with Rooster Teeth was I met you and I think Joel at a poker game hosted by our friend Aaron Morgan, who's really good friend, best friends with Eric Vespi, who was a writer for Ain't It Cool News, and I was writing for Ain't It Cool News at the time, and that's how
Ain't It Cool Games.
Yeah, and so I covered video game stuff for Ain't It Cool News, and Aaron had a poker game, and he was a mod, I think, for you guys.
Yeah,
and so that's how the connection happened. And then one night I was like a broke college kid. And he invited me over, and I think it was you and Joel were playing. And I remember you scooped an $80 pot from me, which would have lasted me like a week's worth of food.
You're going to bring this up.
Yeah.
And I did it very poorly, too. Very bad etiquette.
Yeah.
These are all bad stories about me, both as a boss and as a poker player.
Yeah. I see where this is going. But then, ultimately.
No, I was rude. I kind of fucked you over like playing a funny joke.
Yeah.
And it was a really shitty way to do it. Like I acted like I didn't win, then showed my cards. I was like, haha.
Yeah. You were like, I have 2 pair with a trip kicker or whatever it was to get a full house.
I actually feel worse about the poker thing. You should get a punch in the face for that.
Okay.
In hindsight, I should have. You were fair game. You could have leaned across the table and given me one.
You gave me a salary, so I mean I pretty much made it up. But that was weird because that poker game was kind of like there was a lot of internet royalty that would show up to that game every now and then.
So 2 great things for Rooster Teeth came out of that poker game.
Yeah.
One was, I guess you could say technically Eric, because he came to work for us, 2 at the No. So 3 things: Eric, Jack Pattillo, and Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
It's
Elijah was there.
Cream of the crop. Flash, the guy you're talking about, who's a mod. I mean, that's the simplest way to describe our relationship with him. He is like a man of mystery.
Yeah.
Like he seems to know everybody.
Yeah.
And it's really he's a person who brings people together.
Yeah.
And I've always appreciated flash for that.
Yeah, I remember one time a dude showed up with a case of beer, and I think you introduced him, and it was the dude who ran FARC. Which FARC at the time, for who don't know, was basically Reddit before Reddit existed.
Yep.
Or really, it was before Reddit was Dig, and then before Dig, there was FARC.
Yep.
That guy was huge. And I was like, oh, he brought some Heineken and is playing some poker with us.
I've been talking to Drew about coming on the podcast.
Drew, that's it. Okay,
If only I was better about recording remotely. This has come up a lot this week with all the guests. I just can't do it. I love to hear. I see you, and it's good to see you. And we can talk, and it's like you're face to face. And also, I can't deal with the delay. I feel like I'm on a conference call whenever I'm doing that.
That is my one boomer thing. Is I hate doing remote stuff. It's the worst. It's just like that split second. People don't understand like the comedic timing that goes into like recording stuff. And if there's just a moment of hesitation, it can really throw you off. If you've been doing this for a long time, there's a lot of people who have been doing work from home stuff forever. But as being someone who like when Jeff and I were doing Achievement Hunter, we were sitting next to each other the whole time. And like I think the best years of Achievement Hunter, we were all together in that same room, and so
like literally on top of each other in some cases. Yeah. And there's a timing thing too of you can actually cue people visibly, you can do in the room, or it's like the thing that always happens I find on remote recordings is you end up with delays talking over each other or having like stilted pause.
You go. That stuff is
Jack,
the worst.
Let me ask you a question. Why, as a species of people, exactly what you're talking about, how come to this day and age, telephones and credit cards and giving credit card numbers over telephones have existed for decades now?
Okay.
How come we haven't worked out a system for how that does? Because you start to read the number, and then there's that pause, and maybe it's me. I give them just enough pause to say okay. They don't say okay. Then I start reading the seconds, and then they immediately go, okay. Okay, now I'll go back and do it again. It's just like, we don't have a system for that yet.
I mean, you just got to do it slow enough, but consistent enough to not give them a chance to like butt into it, I think. I
love we're having all these old discussions.
Yeah, this is definitely like the boomer side of things. That is one of my favorite things at Rooster Teeth that I got to experience was the fact that I came in as the young guy. Like, right, I was the young dude, or surrounded by all these people, all the founders of Rooster Teeth. And then by the time it all wrapped up, I was like, at that time, I was the third most senior employee at Rooster Teeth.
But by the time the whole thing shut down.
Yeah, by when we got shut down, or maybe fourth, because it was Gus, Jeff, and Matt were there.
Yeah.
And then me, and now I was the next person. And so I got to bring in with like BK and Blizz and like all these like Kai and like these younger people. And it's like, let me kind of shepherd you and show you how this is done.
And how did you enjoy that, by the way? How was like the developing talent and the inside gaming era of your career? Because we weren't working together at that point in time.
No, I loved it, honestly. Like, I mean, Achievement Hunter, my heart will always be with Achievement Hunter. I loved Achievement Hunter. But by the end of it, I didn't outgrow it, but I definitely didn't feel like I kind of fit in that mold as much anymore. And so stepping away and going to Inside Gaming and working with BK and Blizz, it was like something wildly different. And I loved it. It was so much fun. And like they gave me a lot of fresh breath that let me, enjoy the end of my run at Rooster Teeth. Stuff that Rooster Teeth probably should have gotten into 5 years prior, but hindsight's 2020. So
yeah, it's I've talked about this a lot. The internet demands change or demands progress, but the internet hates change.
Yeah, don't change anything. But why is this so stagnant? It's like, oh, come on.
Or go back and do the thing and do it exactly like I remember. It's it becomes harder to maintain that and slowly evolve it. I think the best way that manifests itself is like in logos and things like that. That's an easy way to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like when the logo makes a change, everyone's like, but it's like if you do small changes along the way, then you look back, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't remember when this thing was completely different.
You got to boil that frog.
That's exactly it. I said that a lot this week. I feel like
boiled frogs.
Yeah, it's come up a few different times.
Is that an actual thing? I think it's bullshit. I don't think it's a real thing.
I've never boiled a frog. I can go on record as saying I have no information about this whatsoever.
Well, that's good, I suppose. But yeah, it's been it was I had a good run. I was there for 14 years full time, almost 15 years full time, and then probably another 2 years on top of that, sort of like the early Achievement Hunter stuff.
That's insane.
So, yeah. It's I was the longest tenured member of Achievement Hunter from start until when I left. No one beat me, thankfully. And then, it was wild. I mean, that's
to put up with all those raucous new kids coming in.
Oh man,
the lads and everything else.
Those guys, like everyone's so talented in such unique ways too. Like that was always my favorite thing. Is like so everyone brought something different to the table, and it was a blast seeing how everyone gelled in different ways, and like watching the different combos of people work together.
Yeah,
and it's kind of how they would take things differently and watch people grow and become better at what they were doing. It's great, and so. And it's cool, like seeing all these people going off and doing their own things. Like, Jeremy's kicking ass on Twitch and Matt's over there kicking ass on Twitch.
A lot of people too are leaving Austin. Yeah. But I have a strong feeling that you will never leave Austin because you have a very unique thing about you in that you are first of all, it was very rare when I moved to Austin in 1989. Mm-hmm. And there were very few people who were born and raised and stayed in Austin. That was very rare.
In 89, that was rare.
Yeah, even people who stayed after the University of Texas, which was 50,000 people, that's 50,000. Well, it's 50,000 every 4 years that run through the university. But Austin at that time was like 500,000 people.
It was small. Maybe not even that.
And that was when like UT was in session and the legislature was in session, because it's the capital as well. So that was rare. You are that, but then you take that to like literally an exponential level because you're a 5th generation Austinite.
Yeah. My dad's mom's dad moved here somewhere in the early 1800s, like somewhere between 1815 and 1830, I think.
That's insane.
But like that too, they live long lives. It's not like they had, not like there was 4 generations of people in 50 years. It was like, this was a long stretch.
Right.
So we've been around for a long time. As a matter of fact, the Westlake area, a lot of my family apparently owned a lot of land out there. Like it's the Priest family, which is my dad's mom's side. They owned a lot of land out in Westlake, like in the Westlake Hills, but they couldn't farm on it because it was all hills. And so they sold a bunch of it. So we actually have a family cemetery off of 2222, like on your way towards 620, towards 4 Points. It's let's really localize this podcast today.
Check the link dump for a link to Google Maps and you can see Jack's cemetery.
Yeah, so there's a Priest family cemetery out there that apparently I have relatives somehow connected to me.
Oh, is that the family name going back? Priest.
That's my dad's mom's side. So yeah, it's the Pattillo family. I don't know where exactly we came in, or maybe they were the ones who came in. I don't know. Anyway, but we've been around for a long time on both sides of my family. So,
long time and still sticking with it. Just for everyone's education here, if you're not from Austin, Westlake, the land that his family gave up because they couldn't farm on it, is now probably the most expensive neighborhood in Austin. Yeah. To put it in perspective, we've talked about the high school in Austin where they auction off a parking space every year. And the last year they auctioned it, they got $40,000 for the right for the student to park in it. That's Westlake High School.
Westlake's also where Richard Garriott has his castle.
He's not there though anymore, is he?
Is he not?
I think he sold it a while ago.
That wouldn't shock me. That dude, I feel like he kind of peaked when he went to space, and then everything else from that.
I don't know, man. He has a castle in Austin on the river.
Yeah,
so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. He's an old school. To me, an OG Austinite, like Richard Linkletter.
We hung out at a party at his castle one time.
It was fun. it was definitely like a life moment for me, honestly.
That was pre me starting with the Rooster Teeth, as a matter of fact. Before I was doing anything with you guys, because I was there covering the party for Ain't It Cool News.
Something too that's been long. This goes back to early old Austin. Sorry if this is boring to people who don't live here, but Garriott would also do this thing where every other year he would turn his castle into this over-the-top, extraordinarily expensive haunted house.
Yes.
Where people would line up on a residential street days in advance to be able to get into this thing.
Yeah.
That had to be annoying for his neighbors.
I imagine so. I wonder how many years he did that. Because I was definitely too young for that. I was maybe in like middle school when he was doing that. And I remember like the legends, like, oh, there's trap doors and you fall 50 feet into a lake. And it's like, I don't think that was actually happening, but I'm sure there was some really cool stuff though.
Yeah. And he always had a mission too, because Austin had another weird distinction where it was the largest city in the U.S. that didn't have a planetarium. And I think we still don't have a planetarium.
No, we don't. We were the largest city in the U.S. without a professional sports team for a long time, but now we have Austin FC. We have MLS team. What? Come on, man. I'm a season ticket holder for 4 seasons.
You are.
I love Austin FC.
I was just telling Jeff on Wednesday's podcast. What's today? Yeah, it was Wednesday's podcast. I was telling him that I'm doing my best to try to like soccer in Europe, in the UK. Yeah, I'm doing my best.
You're in the heart of it.
It's so difficult.
Why? Why is it difficult?
Well, he was saying it's because of scoring. In the sports we watch, like basketball,
big numbers.
Football, we were talking about scoring, but I don't really associate football as being high scoring. But I think American sports are made for highlights. Like they are highlight generation engines. And, a football game can generate like 10 highlights. Mm-hmm. when you watch a football match, unless you know the dynamics of like, oh, wow, look at the footwork there or something. It's just like, it's not quite the same as a guy like somersaulting backwards while he catches a football at 80 miles an hour.
Well, when they score, they typically will do flips and stuff. No, I get that though, because it is definitely like, I came in like I've again lived here my whole life. And I said, whenever Austin gets a pro team, I'm all in. I don't care what it is. I don't care the sport is. Baseball, basketball, I'm all in because I've been
waiting. The Longhorns are paying their players now.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that was the thing. UT scared away a lot of pro teams. And so like Austin, the market was the Longhorns. And so there's no point. And then San Antonio is close enough so the Spurs kind of took over. But when MLS came to town, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a soccer guy now. And then I've been watching now for 4 years, and you learn to appreciate it in such a different way because you can see things building where it's like, oh, I know what's about to happen. And then when you get to see that, and then also because there's not a lot of scoring, when there is a goal, it's like just pure jubilation. It's so awesome. And the whole stadium explodes and people scream, or the other way, and everyone just gets downtrodden and hates life.
Well, to borrow a phrase from your former colleagues, I don't want to yuck your yum. I'm so happy that you love it and you enjoy it.
I appreciate that.
And you're absolutely right. UT is such a juggernaut and always has been in Austin. And I think the best example of that is when they wanted to expand their stadium. There was they published a report about the permit that they were getting in the paper. And just as like an addition at the end of it, they said, and it's going to be delayed because as part of the plans, they need to move Red River. Red River is a street downtown, and they had to move a street in the downtown area in order to accommodate these plans.
I thought you were going to talk about Belmont Hall. This was one of my favorite UT stories. You know that one?
No, it's
so they were looking at back in the 70s or 80s or whatever, they were looking to expand the stadium, but they couldn't at that time. They couldn't get funding to add more seats. So what they did was attached to the stadium, they built Belmont Hall and then put seats on top of it to make an upper deck. So there's actually classes you can take in the stadium because technically it is a school building, and I'm sure there's taxes.
There was a rule for a while, like they couldn't build any non-academic buildings on campus anymore as part of the master plan. There was also a weird rule that you couldn't build a building in Austin in downtown taller than the Capitol building. Yeah. Like I remember that when I lived here.
Yeah. Well, they still have the sightline thing where you can't be like, there's certain sightline corridors where you have to be able to see the Capitol. And I think there's a weird notch in the UT football stadium that you can see the Capitol from like the southeast side of it or whatever, or southwest side of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know the full, I mean, I think some of that stuff may have been mucked around a little bit, but who knows?
And the tower had a thing where it was technically shorter than the Capitol, but on a higher elevation. So it was higher, but shorter, if that makes sense. I used to be an orientation advisor for UT, and I would give tours. Yeah.
Yeah. We should mention we're both alums, too. Like, I graduated in 2005.
What's your degree from UT?
Radio, television, film.
Right. See, I'm the weird one. I'm the computer science guy. Like, I just knew all the RTF guys.
I almost did computer science, but yeah, my senior year of high school, I took a media class, fell in love with editing, and then I'm like, I want to make movies. And so swap from computer science over to film.
See, interesting, because I went and audited some class, which is a way of I went to class for free and just sat there because it was such big classes. Because I wanted to switch majors, and I thought, I'll do RTF. But then I realized, and this is going to sound weird to people today too, at that point in time, you literally couldn't get your hands on production equipment like cameras until you were at least a junior or senior, upper division classes. And I thought, well, I want to do more than that. That's how I found TSTV, which then rolled to lots of different stuff.
Yeah. That's you can thank Robert Rodriguez for a lot of that because the late or like the 90s is when he was going to UT, and that's when El Mariachi was made when he was there, and Charles Ramirezberg and all of those guys, kind of like his sort of group. It felt like the 90s were independent films. So it was your Kevin Smiths, your Robert Rodriguez, your
Linklater here.
Linklater, freaking what's his name?
Mike Judge you could throw in there too. That's from he's from here.
Yeah, he's from here. He's doing animation stuff, and then Tarantino. I mean, like that sort of that era of film was like cheap filmmaking. It was like guerrilla filmmaking, and everyone fell in love with it.
I don't know if it's official or not, but did you know that after Pulp Fiction won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, the first place it showed domestic in the U.S. was Hogg Auditorium on the UT campus.
Really?
And I was there.
Oh, wow.
And I remember it really well. And Tarantino, Linklater invited them. The Austin Film Society showed it. And I dragged my girlfriend to see it because I loved Reservoir Dogs. And it was incredible.
That's so cool.
Worst theater in the world, by the way. All wooden seats and they creak and everything, but it was just such a magical experience, man.
I mean, but there's a certain
bats flying around the screen.
Yeah, I mean, there's like that aspect, that sort of love, like the Dolby Theater. It's sad now. Like, I mean, now this is going to be the old.
I hate that theater.
I love that theater. Like, this is the old man podcast now.
They fucked up a screening of my first movie. And I'll never forgive them for it.
So the Dobie Theater was a theater next to the University of Texas. Inside, it was the Dobie Mall, which was at the base of the Dobie Residences, which is a big tower. Now it's a Target. But yeah, it was a place where they would show independent film. Like I saw Requiem for a Dream there before anywhere else. And I saw the Blair Witch Project there. And I saw Blair Witch when it was on 6 screens in America, and no one knew it wasn't real.
Dude, do you know you might have been then in line with Jeff and Gus?
Really?
Back then, Jeff and Gus were there.
This would have been 99.
I mean, it was Blair Witch. It was a weird thing on the internet that's kind of been lost, where they tried to put it out as though it was a real thing and the found footage was real. And I was like, oh, that's a great marketing angle. But then everyone bought it.
Yeah.
I mean, hook, line, and sinker. And that movie made how much goddamn money?
It was
the most profitable by its budget of all time.
Yeah, percentage wise, because they shot it for like 30 grand, I think. Yeah. And then it ended up making like hundreds of millions of dollars.
And El Mariachi was 7, right? Technically. But it didn't make the amount of money in the theaters that Blair Witch did.
No, but that got him the job to make Desperado, which was basically El Mariachi 2.
Yeah.
Which was basically like kind of like Evil Dead 2. It was just a remake of the first movie. Have you been down camp, like just walked around campus lately?
I did. The weird thing was how many brands are there. They weren't allowed to have like, now they got like Wendy's and everything. Everything was like homegrown.
Wendy's was there when I was there because Junior was there.
I think it came in just as I was leaving.
Because that was 2000 when I started. Yeah. So yeah, there was a Wendy's, there was a Taco Bell, and I think there wasn't even a Starbucks, but I think there may have been by the time I graduated.
Look at us immediately talking about food and places to eat on campus back in the day.
It's something about it.
Did you ever eat at like the little carts that were on Guadalupe?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like I remember there was a hot dog guy across from Rooster Teeth every now and then when we were downtown. We went to every now and then.
Oh yeah.
That guy was awesome.
I could do this all day and talk about places we used to eat. Remember we went to that one place called Mike's Pub that was right across the road.
Oh yeah,
and this is the weirdest thing ever. It was a pub that was inside a parking garage.
Yeah, it was like
the ceilings were sloped because they just kind of built a box inside of a parking garage.
Yeah, and then they had a pool table that they just put like a sheet on, and you could eat on that if you wanted to.
It was the worst place ever, we would like look forward to it every day.
Yeah, well, it was like once a week we go over there. That was some of my favorite things because back when it was like 8 of us working, we would go have lunch together every day. So it would just walk somewhere, like walk to Whole Foods or walk to like Texas Roadhouse or Texas Chili Parlor and Belmont. Like there's so much good
places
food downtown
that are all gone now, man.
Yeah, I am sad. That was the one thing, when we moved from downtown to 636, the south location, we went from like all this cool culture, nice restaurants and everything. Like, being in the heart of downtown to like, now we're in the suburbs. And
okay, well, let me ask you this then. Because you were you weren't at Buda, which is our first technical office that wasn't my bedroom in my house, but you were in every one after that. What was the best office?
Man, it's tough. Like, depends what your definition of best is. Like, some of my fondest memories are Jeff and I at the downtown location when we were starting Achievement Hunter. Like, just the two of us in that.
I've always felt like
room.
that was really special to you. Like, initially, I feel like there was even some resistance as the group started to grow, and that initially you weren't comfortable with that, but then you just embraced it and it all took off.
Yeah, I mean, it was the two of us because we were just literally making video game tutorials. We were game facts with video. I mean, that's what we were.
Achievement Hunter presents the greatest video game guide of all time. Was that
there was
some intro you had on every single one of them.
Yeah, all the ones I did. And that's my one cringe thing. I look back like, God, that thing that lasted maybe a year.
Yeah,
like the early stuff. But yeah, I mean, we kind of found our rhythm, and all of like the sort of seeds of everything that came after sort of started there. So that
was the last time I worked on Achievement Hunter.
Oh, yeah?
I would do some of those game guides. Like I did a lot of Left 4 Dead stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I did Man versus Tank.
You popped into a couple like achievement horses and stuff, like the Halo horse, I think.
I won, and I believe, thank you very much, an Achievement Horse tournament. Yeah, I've got the trophy on my wall. I don't polish it every night or anything like that.
But no, like that location, it was so much fun, but the stage 5, like the sort of not so stage 5 was the one we built up the Achievement Hunter office. That was the core room.
That was the big hangar office where you guys were like in your vault in the middle of it.
That's where where we really kind of grew. Like, I mean, the 636 office, that was where like we were all in that one tiny little room. and a lot of
like an IKEA shelf was like a third of the room.
Yeah. And also we had one window and we put a bookshelf in front of it. I don't know. That was the worst idea.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. It did look onto like a really horrible parking lot, but yeah, still a bad idea somehow.
Get some natural. I think in all of Achievement Hunter, I never had an office with natural light. Like that was the one we could have, and instead we didn't. So,
everything else was a soundstage.
Yeah, it was a soundstage with sealed doors and walls.
And in the downtown office, you were all the way in the back in what used to be a men's bathroom in the upstairs of a Wendy's. And we converted that to our office.
That's a good way that the seeds of Achievement Hunter came from the restroom.
It's somehow appropriate.
Men's room of a Wendy's.
Yeah.
But no, I love like this
room with a drain in the floor. It's perfect for Achievement Hunter.
I do have a question for you. Who is going to write the history of Rooster Teeth? Like, there's a book there, right? Like, someone's got to do that.
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's not me. I can't write for shit. Even though that's what you hired me on for, but nah.
Yeah, I would say I have some interesting ideas of how we could do that.
Yeah.
It's just that now it's like maybe it needs a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Let it breathe. Let it sit for a bit.
Well, there was also like I feel like the 15th anniversary and the 20th anniversary, we did a lot of like self-documenting stuff as well. So maybe that'll be somewhere down the road.
Yeah. I don't know if I was invited to any of those self-documenting things.
And of course, it'll be conversations like this. Like, no, that wasn't I didn't. You did that. I did what? Yeah. What would you do today? Would you make a show per channel? Like the channel just has one show on it, or what would you do today?
That's tough. I mean, because like I like the idea of brands. So like like Inside Gaming, we had have a YouTube channel for that. Achievement have a YouTube channel for that. Like the like STF have their channel. Like everyone kind of has. So and then have like the umbrella. That was the whole idea. Rooster Teeth was supposed to be the umbrella, not the bucket. And I think Rooster Teeth ended up being the bucket.
I agree.
And so having the separate things and kind of like finding your niche and kind of figuring out where it is. I think that was the goal of the internet, is like very, very targeted content for people. So it's like, oh, I like this, I'll probably like this. And then, but if you're under that umbrella, the Rooster Teeth umbrella, it's like, I like Achievement Hunter, maybe I'll like Ruby. And then people would make the jumps. And that seems like was working for a long time. And then it all kind of like, I think there were some failures, some things that didn't work out as well as we wanted to. And so then people got cold feet about trying to do that again. And so I don't know. I was never in those meetings, so these all just my guessing.
I like your analogy a lot there, though, of Rooster being an umbrella, because I think about a drop of rain hitting it and then going down the side and going to something else, like trickling off something else, as opposed to a bucket where you just throw the drop in with a bunch of other shit and go, good luck! Hey, do you want to, and we can cut this if you want to, because I don't know how public it is, but do you want to talk about your new job? Like, you've landed a new gig? Where are you at these days?
So I am I've been in the game industry for forever now. And when I was looking for work, put my stuff on LinkedIn, and my buddy Auntie, who used to work for Red Links out for Ubisoft, he did the Trials HD games, like Trials Rising, although the motorcycle games that Gavin and I love.
One of the games you became heavily associated with.
Yeah. And so it did voices for it. So anyway, he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I hear that, you're looking for work. I've got something cool. Like, do you want to talk? And I was like, okay. And so he's like, yeah, we're working, I've started up a new studio. It's called Channel 37. We're working on a new game. We haven't announced it yet, but do you want to see some stuff for it? And I was like, okay. So I signed an NDA. He started showing me screenshots and I'm like, oh, that's a game that I would love. And he's like, well, we're looking for someone to help us with like marketing and social media and like a community manager. Would you be interested? And I was like, okay. I've never really done that before. And and so he ended up offering.
But you kind of have.
I mean, yes, just never kind of formally,
right?
know?
Yeah.
And so they brought me on as a community manager, and so I had been working there for about a month and a half, just kind of working behind the scenes internally with those guys. And they're all in Finland, so they're in Helsinki, and so it's all work from home.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
do you get to travel there ever?
At some point, yes. Yeah. I was supposed to actually. I was meant to be there like right now.
Don't go. Well, maybe go in the winter because then you could see the northern lights.
Well, yeah, it's also gets dark at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon there.
That's why I was gonna say don't go in the winter, but maybe Finland, that would be a reason to go.
It'd be kind of cool. I've been there once before. I haven't seen the northern lights now, but
at least where we are, we're pretty north in northern Scotland. It's very impressive on camera.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, and you only ever see it on camera, so you don't actually know what it looks like in person. But it's way better on camera, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Anyway, so they brought me on, and I was like, all right, and then it went well, and so they're like, okay, let's make it public, and I helped write my own press release about announcing that I was working for this company, and then we posted it, and we're working with a marketing team, and they put all of like these accolades about me before my name. And when it hit the internet, it looked like I had died. So it was like
I saw this. I saw it.
Jack Pattillo, Rooster Teeth, all of this stuff, and then it's like is now the community manager of this new company. So
it makes me want to do every announcement like that ever.
Yeah.
And so
put
your age in it and everything else too.
But the response was really good, and so I've been there now for about 2 months, and it's interesting. The worst part, not the worst part, but my least favorite part is the fact they are in Finland. And so as part of our sort of work from home situation, because I don't live in Finland, obviously, my work day begins at 6 a.m. So I work from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. And that gives us 3 hours of overlap. So their work day starts at 1 a.m. our time and goes until 9 a.m.
I love it. It is the premise, by the way, for the show. It's the conceit of it.
Oh, yeah?
We can do a morning show. And we make it at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
But here it's 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So we make a morning show without waking up early.
That's funny.
It's the best thing in the world.
So, so that's the worst part is having to wake up and getting used to that. And so, because I've always been a night owl. And so trying to force myself to go to bed at like 10 o'clock is tough.
Yeah.
But I'll get there.
Well, congratulations. I'm really happy
Thank
for
you.
you.
Yeah, it's great. So channel37.co if you want to go check it out. And we got a game we're announcing soon, TM.
And before we go, I do have to mention, otherwise Ashley will absolutely kill me, that we have our nominees for Morning Somewhere's Person of the Year 2024. You will be able to vote in this category on morningsomewhere.com. So please check out that website, won't you, to vote for the most important person of the year. And what an esteemed list of nominees we have. Starting off the list, we have the Hawk Tuah girl, then Ray Gun of Olympic breakdancing fame, Butch and Sunny the astronauts, Chappell Roan, Shohei Ohtani of the LA Dodgers, the World Series champion LA Dodgers. And although not a person, we feel very, very compelled to give a hippopotamal mention to Moo Dang the hippo. But those are your nominees for 2024 Morning Somewhere's Person of the Year. So please go vote at morningsomewhere.com, won't you? All right, well, that does it for us this week, ending December 13th, 2024. I will be back to talk to you on Monday. I hope you all will be here as well.
Bye-bye.